Dick the Bruiser, the hulking, gravel-voiced terror of the squared circle, wasn't just a wrestler. He was a walking bar fight waiting to happen. A 250-pound slab of Midwestern menace who blurred the lines between showbiz and straight-up savagery. At 5 feet 10 inches and built like a brick outhouse, with a shaved head that gleamed under arena lights and eyes that promised pain, Dick embodied the gritty, no-holds-barred spirit of 1960s and 70s pro wrestling. He racked up 16 world championships across promotions, including the prestigious AWA World Heavyweight title and an astonishing 13 reigns as WWA World Heavyweight Champion in his Indianapolis territory. But forget the belts for a moment. This is about the chaos he ignited, the riots he sparked, and one blistering September night in 1972 that turned Soldier Field into a battlefield. On September 1st, 1972, in Chicago's iconic stadium, Dick teamed with his beer-swilling cousin, the Crusher, to face the ruthless Blackjacks, Lanza and Mulligan, managed by the slick-talking Bobby Heenan, in a steel cage match that stands as a brutal classic of the era. Trapped inside unforgiving metal walls, with no escape and everything on the line. It was a clash of titans that showcased why Dick the Bruiser was dubbed the world's most dangerous wrestler. But to truly appreciate that night, you have to understand the man who made it legendary, a former NFL lineman turned promoter, brawler, and showman whose life was as explosive as his pile drivers. Born William Fritz Afflees Jr. on June 27, 1929, in Delphi, Indiana, a sleepy farm town where the biggest excitement was harvest season, Dick grew up in a modest family hit hard by the Great Depression. His father worked odd jobs, and young Dick learned early that life demanded grit. Everything shifted during World War II when his mother landed a factory gig in Indianapolis, pulling the family to the big city. At Shortridge High School, Dick discovered football, joining the team as a freshman and quickly emerging as a powerhouse lineman. His sophomore year showed real promise, but fate intervened. His mom's job vanished, forcing a return to Delphi. The local school had no football program, a gut punch for a kid whose world revolved around the gridiron. Undeterred, 15-year-old Dick made a gutsy call. He packed a bag, moved to Lafayette, Indiana, crashing at the YMCA to attend Lafayette Jefferson High, a school with both football and wrestling teams. Living independently as a teen wasn't easy. He scraped by on odd jobs and sheer willpower. But Dick thrived, excelling in both sports and earning a reputation as a relentless competitor. "I wasn't big, but I was tough," he'd later growl in interviews. His voice a raspy testament to battles yet to come. High school glory led to Purdue University, where Dick walked on to the Boilermakers football squad, honing his skills amid college rigor. But after 2 years, he transferred to the University of Nevada, Reno, chasing better playing time. There, he balled out as a defensive lineman, but his third year ended abruptly. He got booted from the team after a dust-up, his fiery temper flashing early. Undaunted, Dick worked nights as a nightclub bouncer, breaking up drunken scraps and building the ironclad physique that would define him. It was brutal apprenticeship, dodging bottles, subduing rowdies, and learning that real fights didn't follow rules. In 1951, opportunity knocked. Dick was drafted into the NFL by the Green Bay Packers as a lineman. For 4 grueling seasons, 1951 to 1954, he suited up for all 48 regular season games, an Iron Man streak in an era of punishing hits. The Packers were perennial also-rans, scraping just 12 wins across those years, but Dick was a rock, tough, reliable, and unafraid to mix it up. A vicious throat injury in one game left him with a permanently gravelly voice, turning his baritone into a weapon that intimidated foes and captivated crowds. Football paid the bills, but by 1954, at age 25, Dick craved more. Wrestling called, a world where his size, strength, and swagger could shine without a helmet. Trained by Vern Gagne, the future AWA Titan, Dick debuted professionally in 1954, adopting the ring name Dick the Bruiser to match his bruising style. He exploded onto the scene in Chicago in 1955, tangling with legends like Gagne and Lou Thesz in sold-out barns. But Dick wasn't content with mere matches. He infused them with raw, unfiltered intensity. Most wrestling was choreographed theater, cooperative works designed to thrill without true harm. But Bruiser worked stiff, laying in real forearms, headbutts, and punches that left opponents welted and wary. Backstage heat simmered. Wrestlers whispered about his recklessness, and more than a few shoots, real fights, erupted in locker rooms. Yet fans devoured it. The danger felt authentic, the violence visceral. By the late 1950s, Dick was a Detroit TV staple, every Thursday night drawing housewives and blue-collar heroes to watch him pulverize foes with his signature thumbchokes and piledrivers. His gravelly promos, laced with threats and bravado, were gold. "I'll crush you like a beer can, ya bum." One upset loss to Cowboy Bob Ellis on live TV stung. But Dick avenged it twice at Detroit's Olympia, cementing his comeback king status. That Bruiser's volatility wasn't confined to the ring. It spilled into legendarily chaotic real-life brawls. Take the 1957 Madison Square Garden riot, a powder keg that redefined wrestling infamy. On November 19th, before a feverish crowd of 12,987, Bruiser teamed with the wild Dr. Jerry Graham against fan favorites Antonino Rocca and Edward Carpentier. The heel duo dominated, but post-bell, Bruiser and Graham kept swinging, ignoring the referee's pleas. Fans, sensing the heat, erupted, chairs sailed, spectators stormed the canvas, and the arena devolved into pandemonium. Over 300 patrons clashed in the stands, turning MSG into a war zone. It took 60-plus NYPD officers to quell the madness. 2 cops were hospitalized amid the debris-strewn chaos. The New York State Athletic Commission slapped Bruiser with a multi-year ban from the state, a career gut check since MSG was wrestling's mecca. But like everything with Dick, adversity fueled fame. Booted from the Big Apple, he conquered the Midwest, his outlaw aura drawing bigger crowds. "They banned me 'cause they couldn't handle the truth," he'd rasp, turning punishment into promo fodder. 6 years later, the 1963 Alex Kara's bar brawl amplified Bruiser's rogue reputation. Teaming with NFL star Alex Kara's, Detroit Lions defensive tackle, for a hyped wrestling match, promoters staged a worked fight at Kara's Lindell AC bar to drum up buzz. Bruiser burst in, attacking Kara's amid scripted chaos. But a relative of Kara's business partner, mistaking it for real, grabbed a pool cue and cracked Bruiser across the forehead, splitting it open in a gush of blood. Fury ignited. The scripted skirmish exploded into genuine mayhem. Bruiser, roaring like a wounded bull, chased the interloper through the bar, hurling real punches. Patrons piled in, chairs shattered, bottles flew. Over 300 souls tangled in the frenzy. Cops arrived to a trash tavern, tables upended, mirrors smashed, and Bruiser, unyielding, fought 8 officers before being subdued. He faced aggravated assault charges and a $50,000 fine. But the trial became theater. Witnesses testified to the fake origins, and Bruiser spun it as heroic defense. Convicted but paroled, he paid up, yet the scandal sold out his Kara's match. "It made me a household name," he'd chuckle later. Far from ruining him, these eruptions burnished his brand as the ultimate loose cannon, a man whose temper could torch a town. By the 1960s, Bruiser's star burned supernova. He captured the AWA World Heavyweight Championship and dominated territories, his stiff style and showmanship packing arenas. In 1964, he and tag partner Wilbur Snyder bought Indianapolis's NWA affiliate from Jim Barnett, rebranding it the World Wrestling Association, WWA. Dick wasted no time crowning himself inaugural WWA champion, a bold, kayfabe flex that screamed, "I'm the boss." The WWA thrived as his personal fiefdom, running weekly cards at the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum until 1989. Smartly, he allied with Gagney's AWA, cross-promoting talent and recognizing belts for mutual gain. Dick's crowning glory? His tag team with Reggie Lasowski, the Crusher, billed as his cousin despite no blood tie. The duo, 2 beer-chugging, polka-dancing poles, claimed the AWA World Tag Team titles 5 times, their brawls blending humor and havoc. Fans chanted for their entrances, complete with barrels of beer and anti-heel taunts like, "We're gonna beat these bums," and polka down Halsted Street. Bruiser's fingerprints dotted wrestling culture. He coined Bobby Heenan's The Weasel moniker, a barb that stuck through Heenan's Hall of Fame career. In 1971, he and the Sheik challenged for WWF Tag Team Gold against Luke Graham and Tarzan Tyler, a rare Madison Square Garden return that bridged territories. But the pinnacle? That September 1st, 1972, steel cage war at Chicago's Soldier Field. Before 20,000 plus under open skies, Bruiser and Crusher defended their AWA tag supremacy against the Blackjacks. Towering heels Blackjack Lanza, future manager, and Mulligan, with Heenan scheming at ringside. Locked in a chain-link fortress, no tags, no mercy. The rules demanded one team escape or submit. Heenan's antics, slipping weapons, distracting refs, added layers of villainy. But Bruiser and Crusher's raw power prevailed in a 20-minute slugfest of chair shots, suplexes, and blood. Bruiser's thumb gouges and Crusher's brainbusters dismantled the Blackjacks, escaping to retain the belts in a finish that echoed their no-nonsense ethos. Narrated footage from Bob Luce captures the brutality. Fans roaring as metal rattled, Bruiser's glare piercing the chaos. It wasn't just a match. It was a manifesto of Midwestern mayhem, cementing the duo's legacy while showcasing Dick's unyielding ferocity. As the 1970s rolled on, Bruiser's influence deepened. He guested on TV, scouted for WCW, and even refereed Starrcade 1990's main event. His gravelly voice narrated promos that terrified and tickled. His shaved dome and perpetual scowl became icons. Culturally, he seeped into pop. Indianapolis kid David Letterman, a diehard fan, dubbed his late-night bands the world's most dangerous band in tribute. In 1980's Detroit rock radio, DJ George "Hound Dog" Lorenz morphed into Richard T. Bruiser, a snarling persona so spot-on that Dick joined for hilarious commercials, poking fun at his own growl. Post-ring, he commentated for Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, mentoring founder David McLean, a WWA alum. Family anchored him. Married to Louise, he raised kids and adopted son John Carney, whose son-in-law wrestled as Dick the Bruiser Jr., keeping the flame alive on indies. But legends fall hard. On November 10, 1991, at 62, Dick's Iron Will met its match during a home workout in Largo, Florida. Lifting heavy, holding his breath in classic powerlifter form, he ruptured an esophageal blood vessel, triggering massive internal bleeding. Rushed to Suncoast Hospital, he slipped away, leaving a void. Tributes flooded. Wrestlers mourned the man who'd stiffed them but inspired them. Fans recalled the riots, the runs, the realness. He was indestructible, Vern Gagne said, voice cracking. Dick's era, raw, territorial, alive with danger, faded with Vince McMahon's national gloss, but Bruiser's shadow looms. The WWA's closure in 1989 mirrored wrestling's shift, yet his 16 titles, riot-fueled fame, and tag dominance endure. Today, Dick the Bruiser is folklore. The NFL reject who conquered cages. The promoter who built empires, the brawler whose stiff shots birthed authenticity. From Delphi dreams to Soldier Field savagery, he proved wrestling's magic lies in the blur, scripted yet savage, heroic yet hazardous. That 1972 Cage Classic? It's the perfect snapshot. Bruiser bloodied but unbowed, thumb raised in defiance, crowd electric. He didn't just wrestle. He unleashed. In a sport of giants, Dick was the storm. Unpredictable, unbreakable, unforgettable. His growl echoes, "You want to fight? Step in." And for fans, that's the eternal thrill.